Okay, so now let's talk about the border states. Both sides desperately needed the border states. The South needed them for the basic reason that they had a lot of people, obviously, in there. Um, they had a lot of the manufacturing up in that area, especially in Kentucky and those places along there. It also, if the South controls the border states, and especially Maryland, since that was a slave state, that would basically surround Washington, D.C., and would pretty much make the Union capital non existent, and they would have to move it. So if the South is able to control Delaware, Maryland, West Virginia, which is broken away from Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri, they control quite a few more people and, like I said, quite a few more manufacturing areas, et cetera, et cetera. And as we'll see, for the North, it really is going to hurt the North more than anything. If you look in the book on page 465, there's a picture there. It shows the various border states. And all you have to do is take a look at it, and you can pretty much have a pretty good idea of why the North needed them more than anything. I mean, if you look at Kentucky, well, what is the northern border of Kentucky? The Ohio River. And we know that's one of the main transportation areas in the country. So if the North loses the Ohio River, that impacts their transportation in many ways. Also, a lot of the trains will be going right along that area. Cincinnati is right in that area along the Ohio River. Pittsburgh is right there at the mouth of the Ohio River, so they're not too far away from southern land. The railroads, et cetera, et cetera. In time of war, the South could maybe move north and cut those off. There'd be a lot of problems transporting things back and forth. So obviously, again, the North desperately needs the border states to stay in there. And as we said, if Maryland goes, then so do all Washington, D.C. goes along with it. The other thing is with both all of those is the more land obviously the North controls, the less there is for the South. Now, how is Lincoln able to keep those border states in the Union? Well, sometimes he did it basically by like declaring martial law, which he did in Maryland and Delaware, and in that way he was keeping the people in line in there. In other areas, he originally made this war about preserving the Union. If he'd made it about slavery, the border states probably would have left. But by making it a situation where he was preserving the Union, the border states, many of them stayed, and in that way, Lincoln was able to control that area, and then he got troops in that area. And once you got the troops in the area, it was going to be very hard for the South to ever get those border states away from the North. So, as the book tells you, Lincoln says he hopes he has God on his side, but he desperately needs Kentucky. So, in that sense, the border states are extremely important for the North, as they are for the South, but probably more so for the North. If the North doesn't control them, very likely the South would have won this Civil War and have been able to separate themselves into a different country, and that would have obviously caused a whole different set of history that we would have been studying. So that is the situation with the border states, and we'll pick up with the strategies, and then last but not least, we'll pick up with the battles, and hopefully by the time all this is said and done, you'll have a pretty good idea about the Civil War. We'll see you in a while.